everyone, it's Gianna with It's Crypto, where we keep you in the loop on all the latest trends and news on crypto and blockchain technology. Together, we're building a crypto movement that fights for private justice and economic empowerment. Today, we're in Bryant Park in New York City. I have a very special guest with us today, Dan. He's into NFTs, and he's here to share his story.
Hey, Gianna, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for being on our show. Doing well, doing well. So we're doing a special thing right now. We're doing something called Storytime. So we're going to have a whole entire playlist where people are going to tell their stories. So I have a question for you, Dan. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word crypto, and why?
So what comes to mind when I think of crypto, when people talk about crypto, they kind of talk about it like it's the revolution and anarchy, but I have a very simplistic look on crypto. The way I look at it is it's just the evolution of monetary policy, right? Like, for example, when it first started out, there was a barter system. So we put a numerical value on, let's say, 10 bushels of wheat, and we traded that for goats. Eventually, we found precious metals like gold, silver, and all the titanium alloy, and we put value on those. And then after that, once we realized we couldn't really walk around with bars of gold in our pocket, exchanging it for goods, we ended up minting money and backing it by gold. And that was another way of we can now exchange these notes, and it's like a promissory note to get it paid back at a later time, right? And then after that, we went to the debit and credit system, where there was no longer really cash. Nobody really pays cash anymore, and it's just another way of IOUs. But now we don't even have a physical thing, right? And then the next step is crypto, right? So that's really the next only logical step in the monetary process. And it's funny enough, when I look at like Apple Pay, I think was the perfect introduction to crypto and using it because it's very similar, right? Like
it's all digital.
It's all digital. You just press two buttons, you right click it twice, and you pay. It's the same thing with a MetaMask. Like when you go to NFTs, all your stuff is already set up. Your funds are there. You just click accept the transaction, you pay the gas fees, and it's right there. And that's where I think crypto is going, not only for NFTs, but just having wallets connected and just making that simple purchase. And it's just the next logical step really in just the monetary system.
So summed up in one word, what's the one word that you would sum that up with?
Evolution.
Evolution. Cool. So we're going to do a project with that and make some kind of, maybe we'll make an NFT out of it with all the guests on our show putting their one word. Cool. I think I'm going to do that. Yeah. So stay tuned for that. Thanks, Dan. So I want to know your story. How did you get into this? How did you even start in the NFT space?
Yeah. So I'm a sales guy by trade.
Okay.
I started off, I had a little dealership. I was selling cars. Then I jumped into real estate about 5 years ago. I built a considerable business in my real estate career, networking and everything like that. Worked up the ladder, and I found myself having some free time, and I got really involved in crypto during the pandemic, just kind of doing research.
A lot of people did.
At the time during the pandemic, aside from like Bitcoin and Ethereum, it was still kind of hard to really know how to buy certain cryptos. Coinbase wasn't really available. Robinhood was, but only Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin. So I ended up just doing a lot of research and getting ready. Eventually, Coinbase hit the market. Other exchanges like Voyager, which I really love. And that's when I really started investing. And after that, the next logical step after I already allocated my money in crypto and I wanted to save, then NFTs started popping up. And you hear about all these stories, people making a lot of money, but it didn't make sense to me. It kind of seemed stupid. It was just like, okay, people are buying and selling digital pictures. Like, what's the point of that? But once I did more research, I saw that there was a lot more to it. As far as you're buying into these, you're almost like an angel investor, right? I like to think a lot of these developers, what they do is they have this idea. They call it a roadmap, and they say, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Right. But when you buy their NFT, there's a lot of times there's really nothing there yet besides these cool pictures, or maybe they're not cool, right? But there's still something there.
They have value to them.
They have value
to somebody.
To them.
There's somebody in the future is going to think they're cool.
Exactly. So what you're doing is you buy these and you hope that they end up delivering on their promises. So it's really not just about like buying a cool picture, but you have to get into their Discord. You have to check on the Twitter. You have to see who else is following them. What are they saying? Are these legitimate people that are even developing this? Because there is something called the rug where somebody puts out a cute pictures, a collection of 10,000. They charge 0.07 ETH or whatever to mint it plus gas fees. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, you never hear from them again. The Discord gets canceled, the Twitter gets disabled, and then that's it. All of a sudden, you see your NFT got delisted from OpenSea, and that's it. Like it never existed. They make their money, and you never hear from them again.
So beware of rugs.
100%. So that's kind of this market that we're in right now, where it's no longer just anything you buy because you're going to make money. You have to be very careful. You have to do your research because there is a lot to it. And very often, you're just going to have to make sure that you're buying into the right project.
Nice. Do you remember your very first NFT that you bought, or?
Yeah. Funny enough is... So I have a group of people, you know, we get a lot of good information. We have like a little think tank going, and, you know, we've kind of networked in the crypto community, so we have good information. When I first started, I had already created my crypto Twitter, and I was doing a lot of research, and I came across this guy. He seemed kind of cool. I liked the artwork. And I was just like, you know what, like, let me just buy it, like, whatever. That was my first NFT. Since then, it pretty much is worth nothing, and
it happens.
It's just sitting in my wallet. It's real, like the guys didn't just take the money and disappear, but there's really not much there, right? Like a lot of what has to go into these NFTs is marketing, and that's why a lot of these developers they end up really making a lot of money when the project's not really what it's supposed to be, is because they just invest all their money in marketing. They pump up their numbers on Twitter and Discord, and they put on this kind of facade of like, we're very hyped. And that's really what everybody looks at, when in reality, they're not even real followers, or they paid for them. And, you know, it's really tough to kind of go into somebody's follower base and kind of have an idea of who's real and who's not.
That's so unfair to the ones who are like really cool artists, like the one that you first met.
Yeah. So like right now, with these artists are almost like in the back seat a little bit, right? Like you still have the very elite artists, the guys who are doing amazing work in the space, and you have some of the major wallets in the system buying and investing in them. And there's a lot of smaller projects that are really, you know, have these amazing artists, but they're not doing the marketing, or they're just not focusing on that, and they want to reach it organically. And a lot of the projects that recently I've put in money, I love what they're doing. I love everything that's going on. I think the developers are very legit. Everything's going well, but the floor is kind of like it went down. The floor went down, and a lot of people, it makes them panic because, you know, let's say you bought something because the floor was, let's say, at 0.8 Ether, and then it dropped down to 0.6, and you love the project, so you jump in and everything's amazing, but then it keeps kind of going down, right? And a lot of times people can be really worried about this, but if you do your research, you check the Discord, you see they have an authentic following, everything's going right, the developers are good, and not just that they have a huge following, but a big thing for me is I have certain people that I look up to in the crypto space, and if I see that they're following them or they're talking about them and the right people are talking about them, that's enough for me to say, you know what, it's okay. The project is maybe going down in value, but really what that is just the paper hands who are getting really nervous. Maybe they have a small wallet and they just are trying to cut their losses and kind of just get out and find that next flip. But in reality, this isn't really about that. And it's about finding those long-term projects and to build wealth. Yeah, so that's what I'm in this for. So I'm okay with projects maybe going down in value a little bit in the short term.
Gotcha. So what advice would you give to somebody who's just getting into the NFT space, and how do they start? Would you say to start off on Discord to get into it, or
Discord and Twitter?
You
you also have to understand that there's a lot of scams going on. Like the hyper the project, the more scams you get, right?
Yeah.
So the more Discords I enter, the more scams I get, because every Discord has their own people scamming. And these guys are ruthless. These guys, they'll send you a DM and it's the exact same name as the official Discord,
Dang.
and it looks real. And they say, guys, minting has started. Just connect your wallet, and you're good to go. The second you connect your wallet, all your funds are gone. 30 seconds, gone. So just make sure that whenever you guys click on something, you guys are getting it from their official Discord, from their official Twitter, and if they'll never DM you. That's a big thing also. They're never going to DM you. They'll post stuff in their announcements, official links, but they're never going to DM you. So if you see any DMs that are, unsolicited DMs, just don't even click on them. Just delete them.
That's anywhere. If anyone gives you like a WhatsApp or Telegram, I think sometimes people mimic convincing crypto too, and like mimic our logo on YouTube. That's not us. Just looking for the official people who are doing it. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, it's everywhere. So I'm just curious. How do you see NFTs and crypto changing the world? It's still in the very beginning, but do you see this, like what use cases, or just how do you see this changing in the future?
Yeah, so this isn't very simplistic, but I'm going to say it on broad terms. I am super bullish on NFTs, not just because I think, the pictures are amazing and the artists, but now let's think about it like this in terms of DAOs, right? DAOs are crypto hedge funds.
Yeah, they're decentralized autonomous organizations. We have a whole video. I'll link however we look at things. I'll link that whole video there if you want to learn more about that one too. But yeah, DAOs.
Pretty much they're crypto hedge funds, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at how NFTs play a role in that, and let's say you buy into a legitimate NFT project that, yes, it has cool art, but they have real world utility, like they're a DAO, which they're collecting money, they're bringing in revenue, and because they're getting a portion of the sales on the second market, so they're continually expanding this hedge fund. They're buying, whether it's the hottest NFTs in the space, right? Like you can have a DAO of a project that you invest in, and then you look and they have 2 Bored Apes, 3 Bored Apes that they purchased within the last month, and now you're a fractional owner in that Bored Ape. So if it ever hits like 100 Ether, there's a sale of 200 Ether, you can potentially get a sale of that. So in essence, what this is you buy a pretty picture, and it gets you entry into a hedge fund. In the real world, that doesn't exist, right? Like the average person can't just decide one day to wake up and invest in a hedge fund and they just go do it. That doesn't exist. This is a much easier way of giving the average consumer a way to invest in hedge funds. But again, these same DAOs, they don't have to just buy NFTs or stuff in the crypto space. From what I heard, now don't quote me, but I saw this somewhere on Twitter. I heard that the Bored Apes are potentially buying like yachts, and because remember they're the Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Yeah.
So they're buying yachts, and they want to buy like a hotel in all the major cities. So if you're a Bored Ape, you have entry points into these different hotels in the coolest cities, and you get discounts at certain places. And when you look at it like that, it's like this growing community that gets you in the door of a lot of places.
There's real world applications. They're not just these digital pictures. They're connected to other assets. And yeah, also I wanted to add that besides yachts and things, DAOs can also, they're like a community that can vote on what they want to do with their gains. Some of them can also donate it to certain organizations. There's environmentally focused ones. There's all kinds of DAOs, and it's just what the community wants. It's decentralized governance.
Yeah, I mean, I bring up the Bored Apes because it was like the cool thing to say. But in reality, these guys are. Well, let's also talk about it like this, right? Like you're investing in a DAO. You also, when you buy these NFTs, right? If it's an original Genesis token, it could be their DAO token. When you have their DAO token, it also gives you governance. So you have a say in what they buy. They're not just going to buy something and then say, hey, guys, like we bought this, congratulations. Everybody votes. There has to be, it has to be a majority share. I don't know if it has to be unanimous, but there is some kind of governance that's set, and then you buy it that way, right?
I think it depends on the DAO.
100%. So it really depends on where, and that's when you look at these projects and you say on their roadmap, it says, we're going to be doing charity work. You guys get to vote on what kind of charity work, where you guys want to put your money. So I think this is the first step in kind of bringing it commercial and people not really realizing that you have an opportunity right now to get into these hedge funds, crypto hedge funds, 5-10 years before even people realize what they are, right? And not only that, you're getting a chance to get into these communities, right? Let's say hypothetically you minted something 5 months ago. You had, let's say you minted a Bored Ape. When you minted it, you minted it for a couple $100, $300, $200, whatever it was, 0.07 Ether, 0.08, what it was at that time. Now, the floor price on those is like 30, 40 Ether. Now, for commercial sake, right? Like Steph Curry just bought into a Bored Ape. You and him are now in the same community. There's no, he's an NBA athlete.
That's my favorite team.
And
Warriors.
Exactly. And Steph Curry is everybody's favorite player, right? So now you have an opportunity. You're on the same level as him, right? Like, yes, he's an NBA player, and you could just be a regular person. That could have been $400 that you invested. That's all you had to your name. But guess what? You show up to an event, and now you and him are at the same place, and you guys are just talking, and it's one big think tank, and you have very established people who bought into that community, and now that puts you at the table with all these people, and you're taken seriously because you're in that community, and it puts you on a level playing field with people who you never thought were on the same playing field as you. So it's a way into not just these hedge funds, but into these upper echelon communities that really there was never a way to get in there and talk with them. And even if you got into those communities, you might have never been taken seriously because you're not that NBA star, you're not that millionaire, but now you are. Now you're a Bored Ape, just like them, or you're a crypto punk, just like them. And it kind of levels the playing field for you. And all of a sudden, because of this network that you build with all these people who maybe a year ago you thought were, in a higher league than you, now all of a sudden these ideas are floating, and things that you never thought of now are real world possibilities for you, and this community wants to help you succeed. So I think that's also an important part of the space that people are just starting to realize as well. So that for me is also the biggest thing is if I buy an NFT, right, and I think it's going to go up to, and it goes up, shoots up to like $50,000 more plus. Although remember, we don't talk in USD around here, we're talking Ether. So let's say you buy something 0.07, it shoots up to 10 Ether. There's a reason it shot up, right? So like, do I want to sell it? Maybe. It depends. Do I need the cash, or is there a reason why it shot up to 10 ETH? And it's because bigger wallets, whales bought in. And now I look at it and I say, okay, I could sell it for 10 ETH, but maybe the value and the knowledge I'm going to get from that community within the next year is going to be significantly worth more than that 10 ETH that I'm getting now. So the way I look at it is I'm going to stick it out and keep it and kind of see what happens. Because again, I'm super bullish, right? So if I wasn't and I saw that I could make 50,000, 60,000 in a couple of days, I would take it. But depending on the situation, I probably wouldn't if it's really the project I think it is. So that's where we're at.
Very cool, yeah. They really are. That is economic empowerment too, leveling the playing field, getting more people into it. And yeah, it isn't too late if you're not in NFTs yet, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them in the comments below. And you can also always contact Dan again and have him on the show again if you want to chat with him again. But yeah, thank you so much, Dan, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I think I'm happy to have more conversations with you on this. If people have more questions and just like the specifics of getting into these communities too. I think that's super interesting. That's opening up a whole new world to some people.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have a lot more to talk about NFTs in the future. There's more than just like the art world too. There's the music world. People can also use NFTs in the medical industry as well to verify different medical records. So I'd like to have other people on this as well in the future. And yeah, if you'd ever like to be, if you're in New York and would like to be on the channel in the future, let me know. We can meet up, maybe in the park or maybe somewhere less noisy with less construction.
Yeah.
So sorry if you hear like bang, 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 like yeah. The construction workers just like made eye contact with me, like, yep, we're working there. But thanks for bearing with us with all the noise of the park. And yeah, feel free to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts, and share this with your friends if you enjoy this content. But we'll see you next time, everyone. And Jan, if you want to wave too, we just kind of wave
Thanks
bye.
for having me, guys.
Bye.